I've been waiting. Sunshine, why you playing? With my head on the time, you go way out of line.
Hey, it's your girl Serene. Welcome back to my channel. And if you're new, welcome to my channel. Please come back and visit. And I would really love if you would subscribe to my channel. And go ahead and hit that like button. Leave a comment if you feel the need to. And share, because sharing is caring. And go ahead and hit that notification bell so you can be made aware every time I upload a video. So, today I'm giving you what happened last week in the federal case of George Floyd's killing. I'm sorry, my bracelet fell off my arm. But back to what I was talking about. So it started again last week on Monday. And it started back with the rest of the trainee officer, Katie Blackwell. She was still on the stand for a third day with her testimony, which pretty much went over everything that I told you in the last video. And I will have that somewhere up in here. It'll pop up eventually for you to click on if you want to watch the very first video of the first week of the trial. So she basically, the defense did their cross-examination. So remember, in this trial you have 3 defendants, 3 defense lawyers, and each one get a turn to, question the witnesses. I'm wondering, will they be questioning each other's defense witnesses? Kind of weird. But anyway, excuse me, y'all. They pretty much was questioning her about what she had stated in her original testimony. So one of the lawyers, Tao's lawyer, or Robert Pauley, he brought up the fact that while the department policy allowed officers to use leg implements and neck restraints, that they were not taught how exactly to use them. And she had agreed, and her exact words was, in other words, oh no, she said she agreed, but he said, in other words, police officers receive absolutely zero training on how to use a leg as a mechanism for restraint, and she said agreed. So basically, even though they told them about the dangers of it and told them it was certain ways they could use it, they were not demonstrated, basically. Which is kind of crazy, because if I'm not mistaken, in the state trial for Derek Chauvin, they said it was. So, I don't know. Anywho, he also stated, which was one of the things that Thomas Pluckett brung out, which is King's lawyer, is that even though the officers are taught different use of force scenarios, they are not taught how to intervene in them if they're not being done right by fellow officers. So basically, if you see an officer doing wrong, they don't train you how to intervene to stop them from doing wrong. I'm going to save my thoughts on that one for the end of the video. Blackwell, which is the training lady, she also stated that recruits are told that they should never argue with an instructor. And this is important because on the instructor on scene, who was the trainer, was Derek Chauvin. He was King's trainer at the time. Apparently, it's drilled in them not to argue and question their instructors. So, yeah, I'm going to leave my comments for that later, too. So, the next day, Tuesday, they had the medical examiner on there who basically changed his original, what you call it, the reason for death to let me see, he changed it. Hold on a minute. Neck compression. So he changed his death to the neck compression, because if you watch the Derek Chauvin's trial, he refused to include that was part of his death in the original trial of Derek Chauvin in the state trial. He kept saying he felt it was a combination, but it was no way to say it was definitely his knee on his neck is what he tried to stick with. Well, apparently he went back and changed it. And the defense jumped on it saying, were you pressured into changing it? But they also had evidence that he talked to a different coroner about his thoughts on it. I guess he sent him the file for him to study it. And he said that coroners, take advice from each other, get advice from each other, but that don't mean you necessarily use the advice you were given. You go with your own beliefs, but it's not uncommon for them to get advice from each other. Which makes sense to me since they all in the same field. Anywho, he did say that he died after a subdural restraint and neck compression caused his heart and lungs to stop. He said George Floyd's heart disease and drug use were factors, but not the top line causes. He said that Floyd had an enlarged heart that needed more oxygen than normal, as well as narrowed arteries. So, yeah. Basically, they only defense was the attack that they felt he was pressured into specifically putting neck compression in there. He also did admit that he was not sure if what's his name? I'm sorry. King, who had his knee on Floyd's back, and Lang, who had a hold of his legs, if what they were doing would play a part in his death. He did say he wasn't sure about that. He did also admit that. The defense did get him to admit that when George was saying he couldn't breathe, he could have been going into a cardiac arrest at that time, but it's no way to be sure about that. And that pretty much is the, sum of that. Then Wednesday, when they came to court, the judge announced that someone tested positive for COVID-19, and court was on hold until Monday. So, the judge never said who tested positive, but it was noticed that Thomas Lane was the only one not in court, so therefore they believe he was the person who tested positive for COVID. They did resume court again today, which is Monday. Today is Monday, but I will give you that with next week for this week's update on the case. So that's when you'll hear about what happened to that. So that's pretty much it for what happened last week in the federal case of the George Floyd's death. Now, my opinion. I know y'all just love my opinion, right? It's like, anyway, the thing is, to me, it still sounds like a bunch of kids saying, I didn't do it, he did it. He did it. I didn't do it, he did it. You know, and the thing is, I really, not to sound mean, because I'm not, I don't care what nobody say. To be a police officer, I feel like you should definitely be able to have street smarts and common sense. Period. Those should be like two of the top most leading things you need. And then of course the training they give them to do their jobs. Now, the reason I'm saying this, because the thing is, if those people on the sidewalk, some of them teenagers, young people, could clearly see something was wrong with him, I find it very hard to believe that these grown men who have been trained to recognize when something is not right did not understand something was not right. And furthermore, when you look at, they showed Lane's and King's body camera. King looked for a pulse. King said he couldn't find a pulse. Again, still didn't get up. Lane said, I think we should turn him on his side. It's the point where we turn him on his side. He was told no. To me, it could have been more fight in him than what he gave. It's like he was tiptoeing around that this ain't right and I need to say something because we can't just do this. But, yeah, he the boss type of situation. You know, like he over me. And the thing is, now you being part of a murder because you was scared to talk up to someone who put their pants on just like you do, who wake up just like you do, who clock in like you do. Just maybe got a little bit more pay than you. I mean, if he do. Because he seemed like a very not, I still can't understand how he was a training officer with his background and all that came out with what was going on with him. Especially all the, anywho, we ain't even gonna get into that. But I feel like them gentlemen knew something was wrong. Y'all knew something bad was happening, but you still continue on, and that is just unacceptable. I'm sorry. It's no defense to me to make it seem okay. It's not. Now, do I feel they should have the same amount of time that Derek Chauvin received? No, and some people may disagree with me, but I don't feel they should have the same sentence as them. But I do, however, feel y'all never should be allowed to be police officers. I feel like we need to really step our standards up for who is able to be a police officer in America. I do. And I know some people probably thinking, well, if that's the case, we probably never have officers. Well, I'd rather it be hard to find good officers than hire crappy officers and keep dealing with the things we're dealing with today. I mean, it's ridiculous. Seriously. It's seriously getting more and more ridiculous by the day. More and more dangerous by the day. More and more lost by the day. It's seriously. So that's pretty much all that's been happening with them. And of course I have some more case updates coming up, which y'all will see also. So that is, if you made it to the end of my video, thank you for caring so much to do so. And please, again, I would really appreciate and have all the gratitude and happiness in the world if you could subscribe to my channel. Go ahead and like it. If you want to leave a comment if you feel the need, that's fine too. And share, because sharing is caring. And don't forget to hit the notification bell on your way out so you can be made aware every time I upload a video. Thank you so much and enjoy the rest of your evenings. Mwah. Thank you.
I swear I give you my tomorrow.